So in the first part of our second lecture on lattice vibrations and phonons related to longitudinal lattice vibrations in a one-dimensional monoatomic chain, we had derived the dispersion relation for a one-dimensional monoatomic chain. In the second part, we will be plotting this dispersion relation and try to interpret the plot so as to come down to some logical inferences. From wave mechanics, we know that the velocity of a longitudinal elastic waves through a solid is given by the relation Vs, that is equals to under root y by rho, where y is the Young's modulus of the solid and rho is the mass density of the solid. And if you talk about transverse elastic waves, then the velocity of transverse elastic waves through a solid is given by the relation Vs, that is under root g by rho, where g is the shear modulus of the solid. Since we are dealing with longitudinal elastic waves, we will be using this formula and try to come down to an expression which we can relate with our dispersion relation. We know Vs, that is the speed of the wave, longitudinal elastic wave through the solid, is Young's modulus by mass density. Young's modulus can be expressed as stress by strain. Which we can write it as force per unit area, that is stress, divided by change in length by original length. And mass density rho can be expressed as mass per unit volume, which we can write it as mass per unit area into length. So putting these expressions into this formula, what we get, Vs, that is equal to root over F by A for stress divided by strain, that is delta L by L. This takes the form of the Young's modulus and then multiplied by 1 by rho, that is AL by M. So working on, we get Vs as F into A into L square divided by A M delta L. Taking this L square out of the square notation, we can write it as L, writing F in terms of spring force, that is beta, where beta is the spring constant, into delta L is the elongation in the spring. This A and this A cancels, so we are left up with M into delta L. This delta L, this delta L cancel. In our present context, the length of the system is the interatomic spacing, which we had represented by A. So we replace this L by A, and this is the expression for the speed of a longitudinal elastic wave through a solid. If you compare this expression with the one here, beta by M, we can write this dispersion relation as, so we can write under root beta by M as Vs by A, and hence the dispersion relation can also be written as 2 Vs by A mod of sine K A by 2. So with this expression you can directly relate the angular frequency of oscillations with the speed of the longitudinal elastic waves through the solid. So here we have plotted the dispersion relation omega as a function of k. This is the nature of plot, as is evident from the expression from the dispersion relation, that is omega angular frequency is directly proportional to square root of beta and is inversely proportional to square root of m. So if we increase beta, the maximum frequency increases. You can see the maximum frequency increases. Similarly, if we increase m, the maximum frequency limit decreases, but the lower frequency limit always remains equal to 0. By increasing the elastic constant of the solid, that means the stronger the bond, greater is the angular frequency, the maximum angular frequency achieved. Similarly, if the mass increases, the limit, the frequency range decreases, the maximum frequency decreases. There is another parameter on which this relation depends, and that is the interatomic spacing A. Obviously it also depends on k, but we assume k to be an external wave which is probing into the system. So these are we take k as a set of input variables based on which we had find the dependent variable omega. System parameters like beta, m and k are the material parameters. How these material parameters are affecting the nature of variation of angular frequency with wave vector, that we are observing in this particular description. With k, as we increase k, we see the plots come closer and the same pattern repeats. So we get a sinusoidal type of behavior which repeats after a certain interval. That range is from k equal to minus pi by a to plus pi by a. This same nature is being repeated throughout. By adjusting the value of k, the omega naught or omega max doesn't change. Only the k values at which you achieve the omega max values, that changes. Now let us evaluate the variation of this omega values for different values. Now let us evaluate the variation of angular frequency. It can be seen that the nature of variation of omega is similar and it repeats itself after a certain interval. So the pattern within an interval k equal to plus minus pi by a is being repeated for higher values of k. As such, in order to investigate the nature of variation of omega versus k, we need not have to investigate the entire curve. We can just investigate the variation of omega as a function of k over the range minus pi by a to plus pi by a. For all other higher values of k, the nature is similar, or the nature of variation is similar as is predicted by the variation within this range. Let us now investigate the nature of this plot for various values of k. Going further, investigating the plot for k tending to 0, that means for lambda tending to infinity, that means for long wavelength waves. For small values of k, sin ka by 2 tends to ka by 2. So the dispersion relation can be written as this, obviously with a mod sign. So omega is always positive, so with a mod sign, which in turn we can write omega by k as this, and we know omega by k is nothing but the phase velocity. We know under root beta by m is Vs by a, so writing it in that form, we can conclude that the phase velocity is equal to the speed of the longitudinal elastic wave through the solid. So this is the phase velocity. Extending further to find the group velocity, which is nothing but finding the derivative of the dispersion relation with respect to k, we get this. Finding the derivative, we get this. Obviously, again the same, all expressions are within mod sign. for small values of k tending to 0, cos ka by 2 tends to 1. As such, we can write d omega by dk as a times beta by m, which again can be written as a times Vs by a, and finally as Vs. So what we had found is that in case of waves with long wavelength, the phase velocity omega by k is equal to the group velocity d omega by dk, and that is only possible if the relation between omega and k is linear. Then only the phase velocity and group velocity can be same. So omega by k curve will be linear for k tending to 0, almost like this. What does it mean? It means that for long wavelengths, the inhomogeneous discrete atomic structure of the solid is of no importance, and the long wavelength waves can pass through the solid with the same velocity as if the distribution is homogeneous and continuous. That means for long wavelength waves, the solid behaves as if it is a continuous homogeneous chain of atoms. It's not an inhomogeneous discrete medium, rather it behaves like a homogeneous continuous medium. And just in analogy to those homogeneous medium, for long wavelength waves, the solid behaves as a dispersionless medium. Looking for higher values of k, higher than k tending to 0, we can write omega as this, again within mod sign, because omega is always positive. So phase velocity can be written as this. We can write it in terms of Vs also as 2 by a k Vs mod of sine k a by 2. So for moderate wavelengths, you can find group velocity also by finding the derivative. It is also this a root beta by m mod of cos ka by 2, which we can write as a times Vs by a mod of cos ka by 2. So the phase velocity and the group velocity are different, and the group velocity is the velocity with which the energy is being transmitted from one end of the solid to the other. So for moderate wavelengths, the solid acts as a dispersive medium at k equal to pi by a. That means when k equal to pi by a, that is lambda is equal to 2a, sine ka by 2 will be sine pi by a into a by 2, because k is pi by a. That gives sine pi by 2, and which is equal to 1. Similarly, cos ka by 2, for that value k equal to pi by a will become 0. Putting this value, we find the phase velocity comes out to be this, which we can write in terms of Vs as 2 ka Vs mod of sine ka by 2. At k equal to pi by a, phase velocity is the sine ka by 2 will be 1, so it will be 2 by k root beta by m, which we can write it as 2 Vs by ka. So independent atoms will oscillate and will generate waves which has a phase velocity 2 Vs by ka. If you look into the group velocity, we will see it becomes 0, because we get a term cos ka by 2, and cos ka by 2 is equal to 0 at k equal to pi by a. That means there is no net transfer of energy at this value of k. So it can be interpreted through this diagram. This is the equilibrium case, And this is the case for moderate values of k. All atoms are oscillating with some phase difference, but there is a net transfer of energy from one end to the other. While this is the case that for k equal to plus minus n pi by a. At these values of k, you see the neighboring atoms oscillate almost out of phase, as a result of which there is no net transfer of energy from one end of the solid to the other end of the solid. So, adding further, you can see that for angular frequencies less than omega max, we can have waves with several k values that can be associated with the angular frequency omega. That means a lattice can propagate different wavelengths corresponding to these k values at the same frequency. So for one set of vibrations, you can have more than one waves with different k values associated with it. So overall, if we want to conclude from the interpretation we did onto the nature of variation of angular frequency versus wave vector, we can say at low wave numbers or for long wavelengths, the nature of variation is linear. The solid acts as a dispersionless medium. For moderate wavelengths, the solid acts as a dispersive medium. And at values equal to k equal to plus minus n pi by a, the omega is maximum, so you get a maximum frequency, but there is no net transfer of energy from one end of the solid to the other because the group velocity is 0. That means independent atoms are oscillating, the neighboring atoms are oscillating as if they are out of phase with each other, and resulting in the formation of standing waves. Standing waves are the waves which do not transmit energy from one end to the another, yet each and every component of the wave is vibrating. The same case happens here at these values. The maximum frequency, as it can be seen, is under root 4 beta by m, which you can always relate in terms of speed of the longitudinal elastic wave through the solid as 2 Vs by a. There exists a maximum frequency beyond which a lattice can't vibrate. Whatsoever the mode of excitation may be, you cannot excite the atoms of a lattice with a frequency beyond omega naught. Overall, we can say the lattice behaves as a low pass filter because it allows a definite range to pass through, and beyond omega naught it doesn't allow vibrations to pass through. We had also discussed the case that there is no net transfer of energy for definite values of k, and they are integral multiples of n pi by a plus minus, where n can be plus minus 1, plus minus 2, plus minus 3, plus minus 4. At all such k values, we had already discussed the waves behaves as a standing waves. So these are the values you see where plus k pi by a and minus pi by a, where standing waves are formed. So if a wave of wave vector pi by a incidenting from left going on to the right of the lattice, or minus pi by a incidenting to the right going to the left of the solid, you are going to get standing waves. The maximum frequency of oscillation that due to these waves with which the atoms in the lattice vibrates is omega naught, and that is 2 Vas by a. But the group velocity becomes equal to 0. So if we discuss this, or if we compare it with Bragg's diffraction condition, we say if we probe an X-ray of this value of k so that it sets the atoms in the lattice, or it sets the lattice to vibrate with same value of k, with this pi by a or plus pi by a or minus pi by a, then this X-ray will not be transmitted through the lattice and hence will only diffract. So this is the condition, is another interpretation of Bragg's diffraction condition. and the region bounded by plus pi by a and minus pi by a is the first Brillouin zone, and these boundaries k equal to plus pi by a and minus pi by a, the boundary of the first Brillouin zone, are called Bragg planes. So that is all about lattice vibrations in a one-dimensional monoatomic chain. In our next lecture, we will be discussing about lattice vibrations in a linear diatomic chain. Thank you.